I think you're focusing too much on the eternal.
Why call it Eternals if you're not eternal? Like,
this is
that is just...
Welcome back to i2i Reviews, the place where we talk about the things that we're seeing streaming-wise, but also in theaters that are related to Disney. My name is Kyle.
And my name is Jessica. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our content.
And as a reminder, these are spoiler-filled reviews. You don't want to be here if you haven't seen Eternals, because we're going to spoil things, we're going to talk about things in somewhat detail, probably very confusing detail for some of you like Jessica out there.
Listen, if my face doesn't already say it, I was confused. I'm still confused. I will continue to be confused.
But this is your warning. Get out of here now, and you can go check out our spoiler-free review on our main channel, i2i Kyle and Jessica, where we just give you reasons to watch it, reasons you may not like it, and a rating on the film. But this is just an open discussion, and we're not even so much going to really explain the plot to you, because chances are if you're watching this, you've seen the plot, you understand it somewhat, unless you're Jessica. So that's mainly what we've done.
Don't understand anything.
What we've done.
This might as well have been calculus.
It's not that confusing. It is not that confusing.
Yep.
It is not. I'm going to disagree with you on. I understand there's a lot.
That's the beauty of two different brains. Because for somebody that's really smart, like an engineer, calculus is not difficult for them.
Can I give you, since we're on this tangent right now, if we're going to equate it to a class, it's like a biology class where there's a lot of memorization and retention of stuff that you really need, but you don't necessarily have to have every little piece to keep moving forward like you have to do in math.
Or it could be like the Canterbury Tales, where you're not really sure how each of the 12 tales fits in with the main story. All right,
speaking of Canterbury Tales, let's talk about these tales of the Eternals. Okay. What we've done is we've both come up with a list of 5 things, at least, that we would like to discuss and maybe ask questions about and just kind of bounce off of each other for a minute.
I'd have too many questions.
I knew hers was going to be main questions, so I had tried to do statements with mine. Let's just start with Jessica right off the top.
So I don't think I'm going to go in any type of order, because I had them written out in order, but I think that's probably wrong. So the one thing that I really did enjoy about this movie, obviously, is the comedy. I am a comedy junkie. I love comedy movies. Those are kind of the only type of movies that I just really, really love.
You also like murder movies and
Gone
Girl
that has
still
nothing
haunts
to do
me
with
tonight,
this.
core every night when I go to bed. Sorry.
That doesn't have anything to do with this channel, but comic relief. I really liked Heron. Am I saying his name? Heron?
Karan. You talking about Karan?
Karan.
Karan.
Another thing Jessica's confused about. People's names.
There's Karan. 10 Eternals and then a bunch of other characters. It's hard to keep up with.
Is that how you say it?
Karan is how I believe it's spelled.
Okay.
We're from Alabama. We can't pronounce things.
He also was the filmographer, videographer.
He called himself a Kingo's valet.
Yes. I loved him. He was so stinking funny.
Right.
Every time his cameras kept getting broken, he just brought out another one.
That was a really good gag.
Great. He'd be videoing in the most inappropriate times, and then what'd you say the main guy's name was?
Kingo. You talking about Kingo? Yeah.
Kingo would be like, no, and he's like, yes. Yeah, he was just. He was really funny. I thought the actor did a great job. You just felt like. Well, he reminded me a lot of Happy in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah, I could see that. A little bit. I mean, he's a supporting character as well. I liked the Kingo and Karan bounce off of each other and the way they played around, and the gags never got too much. I think if they had gone one more time with the whole camera thing, that'd be like, all right, that's too much. But 3 times
is great.
It was perfect. And you always want, that's the thing about Marvel movies. They go heavy on the action, but they will try to cut it with a little bit of comedy in the middle of it. And that was in the middle of the big deviant battle scene in the village, where they were just kind of, everything was just going crazy at that point.
I was just confused at that point, but I liked the comedy.
It was, and not just that pair, but I think every character had a moment that made you chuckle or giggle. And I can't think of
not every character.
I think
Ajax did not.
That's fair, but that character was so pushed to the side for purposes of the story.
She was mean.
Mean? Which one? Are we talking about the same character? Ajax, the one who
Selma
died?
Hayek?
Yes.
That died?
Yeah.
Because she was a bad leader?
How is she a bad leader?
Because
she told them to go off and live their lives.
But she withheld critical information from them.
Right. So, but at the end, she did the right thing. And and she was going, you're not defined by the mistakes that you make. You're defined by how you respond to the mistakes that you
Oprah.
make. I'm just saying. So she's not a bad leader. She did what she thought was best at the time. And then as she grew up and changed.
But you're on this earth for 7,000 years and you don't think at any point in those 7,000 years that you need to tell people, oh, by the way, there are deviants that are coming to kill you.
Okay, so now we're getting deep in this stuff here. But think about how many times this is, because this has happened over eons. Like this, they've had this happen to them over and over again, how they've probably been conditioned just to accept these things. I mean, you got to think at some point, like, it was just a rare happenstance that they break free of all this stuff and, like, kind of realize, oh, crap, we're basically killers at this point. Which, speaking of, I like that turn on, like, it's like you think the Eternals are the heroes. Technically, they're the villains.
Really?
I mean, they were...
What did I miss?
So, remember, the Celestials sent them there to basically harvest humans so they could create another Celestial.
What?
You didn't grasp that from the movie?
No.
And here we are. This is why Jessica is so confused.
What are you talking about?
All right. Here, again, we have a list of 5 things. We may not get to them.
Yeah, I don't think we are.
They're really just used as launching points, but how it all ties in together. Let me kind of explain here for just a second. All right. So you've got the Celestials, remember? They're not God. They are gods with a little G. So they're like immortal. They got all this power, but they're not the ultimate beings out there.
Right.
But in the MCU, they have created worlds, the galaxy, the universe, not the universe, but the galaxies and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Because we saw him even creating, in that little imagery thing he was doing, a world or a sun. Do you remember that?
No.
Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. That's what they do.
Okay.
So what they were planning to do, because to create more of themselves, to continue to create life, because they're the ones that are creating that life, they have to destroy life. They have to draw in energy to create themselves. That's why it was called the emergence, because the guy was in the earth.
The who?
Remember Tiamat?
Okay.
Tiamat?
Yes, I remember Tiamat.
So basically, they sent the deviants to this planet to help keep things in balance, but they went overboard, and so they had to create the Eternals to actually create that balance as they fight against each other.
Okay.
And the Eternals, essentially, while they thought they were doing the right thing by protecting the humans, technically they were, but they were also helping basically harvest them over time. Like helping them get to the point where there's enough of their life force that can be absorbed in to kill them off and open up the world to the new Celestial. Does that make sense now?
Yes.
Somewhat. I hope I explained that right. But I liked explaining how the Celestials, all of that, tied in together, because that stuff that's been missing, we were wondering how they fit into everything. Because remember when we talked about Ego, who was Star-Lord's dad?
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, Ego. Okay, yes.
He was, he said, I'm a Celestial and you're part Celestial. You're like, it's just a nebulous idea. And so we really need to have that explained. Maybe a little too much at times. Got a little bit confusing for people like Jessica. But we just had to have like a counseling session right there to explain things to you. So I really enjoyed that, even though it's probably a little bit too much on the exposition and a little bit too much on the explaining, because people like Jessica are just trying to come in and watch a Marvel movie are like, huh? What's going on in this
Literally for 2.5 hours.
What else stuck out to you? What do you want to talk about?
Speaking of time, it was a really long movie. It was very confusing. Obviously, we've said that 100 times.
Is it like 2 hours and 37 minutes? Is that what you told me?
Yes.
It's a long movie.
It's just really, really long. And so I don't mind a long movie if it's done well. Avengers Endgame. We've kind of said that. That movie does not feel long because it's done well. This movie did not feel like Titanic, which is long and kind of is too long. This movie was really, really, really too long. Like, it probably could have been cut in half and we all would have still been just as confused, but less time wasted.
See, I disagree, because I think it had to be this long the way they wanted it to tell the story. And I think had they done it shorter, or had they done it or cut it off a little bit, then we're going to be complaining about, well, this character wasn't fleshed out enough. This character, because I think that's the thing that they did well, is that for a huge ensemble cast movie with big stars, everybody had a moment. I think Fastos probably had the he had at the end was big because he didn't come in towards the end. The forger, the guy who could create all the machinery and stuff. But he got his time at the end. But that's just kind of what has to happen. They even sent Kingo off. Kind of.
I mean, I totally get it, and I guess my gripe is, because this is a gripe session for me, is that if it is going to be that long, it needs to be worthwhile. And like just again, the very beginning where we're reading these paragraphs and it feels like you're in school.
Star Wars.
Well, no, at least Star Wars, there's something visually appealing with the way the words go in Star Wars. You're seeing it in the galaxy. There's the stars. There's the music. This was literally a black or gray screen with paragraphs. And it just literally felt like you're in school reading off of the projector screen. There was nothing enchanting about it. There was nothing exciting. I was trying to take notes mentally, like, what is this person and who is that? And there's Celestial and there's I didn't know where the plot was going and what we're about to start into, and there were all of these names that I didn't even know how to pronounce in my head, and I just felt like I needed a pen and paper, and I was so confused from the very beginning.
I could feel her like panicking right beside me the entire time. Like I could see her like, I'm lost already. I gotta write down notes. Here we go. Like it was just it was. When that started, I was like, okay, this is going to definitely be a different Marvel movie than we're really used to. And I think we all knew that, but I don't know that we were prepared for how different it was going to be. And this kind of leads me into my point. Yeah. That's about just, this was trying to be an Avengers movie without the lead up and the finesse and the time they took to lead up. Because I think if you thrust Avengers Endgame in front of someone,
without
and say accept anything. It for it, and without seeing anything, you might be like, "Oh, that's cool," but you don't have the backstory.
But you don't understand it.
And that's the thing, is it tried to do all of that in one. But here's the thing on the flip side: I can't think of a better way for them to have accomplished what they needed to accomplish with this movie. So it's kind of like this thing of like, was it perfect? No. But was there a better way? Not necessarily, because I think the only other way you do this movie better is that you pick a few characters and just focus on them, whether it's Icarus and Cersei, and just tell their story with maybe mixing in less about the other ones. But then I don't think that sells,
I mean, that's fair.
Personally, I don't think it does.
And now maybe this is the point where if they're going to keep making Eternals movies, that now they can move forward and then take those characters and do a specific movie about a character then.
Well, and I think what's going to happen now is you might get another Eternals movie, but I think remember I even talked about it, and we're going to talk about post-credit scenes in just a second. I think you're going to get some of them in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Probably going to get some in Thor.
Not gonna help me be less confused.
But we have reached the point in the MCU where you just gotta hang on and just ride this thing out, because everybody is intermingling with everybody. We got Doctor Strange coming up with Spider-Man, and then the old Spider-Man. We'll get there. Let's not even worry about that right now. What's the next thing that stuck out to you?
I have a question.
Okay, I have hopefully an answer.
Why are they called Eternals if they die?
You always have like a question like this. Is like this big confounding thing.
Isn't that like the actual definition of eternal and eternity?
Yes.
Never ending, does not die.
Right. So my answer would have been if the humans had given them the name the Eternals, because to them they would be eternal, right?
But didn't
but yes,
Erishkium,
I think it's Erishkium is how you would say his name, and the Celestials.
You see how I said it in my brain when I was reading that paragraph very quickly.
I got it. I got what you said, but I think to them, since he gave them the names, then it doesn't make sense.
So were they supposed to be eternal, and then because of their great fall with the Deviants and the Eternals, they then became not eternal, and two of them could die?
If you notice, the only two that died at the hands of Deviants. So I think it's really that the fact that only those could kill them, that they're basically eternal. It took the only thing that's opposite of you to kill you.
So you're eternal against humans?
I think you're focusing too much on the eternal aspect.
Why call it Eternals if you're not eternal? Like,
this is
that is just...
This is what grinds your gears.
Don't have a movie about aliens and it be about kids at high school. Those aren't aliens. But
what if they're aliens that wanted to go to high school?
I'm just saying.
And one of the Eternals wanted to be human.
I was just not prepared for two of these people, aliens, whatever they are, deviant.
They're basically robots.
Yeah. What are they called?
Eternals?
Yeah, I guess that's all their name is. For two of the Eternals to die. Like, I was literally unprepared for that because in my mind, they're eternal, they don't die, and then when Gilgamesh died, it just broke.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people were upset that Selma Hayek got the shaft, basically, and was taken out and was kind of just the plot device the rest of the time. I was okay with that. I really like Don Lee's character of Gilgamesh because the whole thing with him being the protector of Athena because she wasn't able to help herself at that point, even though she's this great. It's like, that's such a cool thing there. You've got this, big gruff guy that's being this caretaker, not because she necessarily needs him, but because she just needs help while she's dealing with this illness. And then you got Athena, this great warrior that can't make it without this guy taking on this different role for her. Like, it was just this really interesting and I think great storytelling. So I hated to see him go, but in a group of 10 Eternals, somebody's got to go.
I mean, I get it, but him out of all of them, like you would, I don't know.
Who would you have rather gone?
No, it's not about rather. It's who realistically in this alien space world would go. You would think it would be Sprite because she's an illusionist. You would think that she would become the wrong illusion and a deviant would catch her. Like at the very beginning, the first deviant, what was his name? Crush?
Well, Crow is the main deviant.
Okay, at the very beginning. Remember when she has all the illusions and there's like a million of them and he still sought her out immediately?
Yeah.
To me, she would be the one that would die. Not because of anything like other than just her power is, to me, the one that would
But here's the thing, though. So I think it makes more of an impact if it's a character that you like dies.
I mean, I liked Sprite. I have nothing against her.
But I think we both agree that Gilgamesh was probably the more likable one.
Correct.
So I think that goes to great storytelling right there. That you build up a character to the point you like them, and then you just gone, and so you have to accept who's here at this point. So it's a little annoying. I get that, but it's also good storytelling.
Is it? We
talked about the deviants a little bit already.
Yeah.
I was on board with the deviants kind of being the villains, but not necessarily the true villains of this. There's no really...
Who was the true villain if it wasn't the deviants?
So we talked about it. The Eternals kind of were the villains of this movie.
Still don't super understand.
That's the point. There's nobody really, and I think that's what makes it very complex and good villain. There's nobody that's really the true villain because the Celestials, who have designed this way where people have to die to create a new one, a new Celestial who's going to create more life, and then the cycle continues. The circle of life in Disney. It's a very brutal circle of life where millions and billions and trillions of people die, but one gets to live and create millions and trillions more. But they're not, they're doing this bad thing to create this good thing. And it goes back to that thing of Thanos who, we're not going to open that door today because
confused.
The thing with the deviants was they were strictly a plot device, a plot villain. And I was fine with that until they tried to throw Crow in at the end in the battle. He jumped in and I'm like, you have no place in this battle at this point. It was so shoehorned. It should have been him just gone off and them save that Crow, that deviant, for later on in the MCU. That's if I have a gripe, that's my one gripe. Don't just throw him in there just because they weren't throwaway villains.
Right.
They just weren't the thorough villains. That's probably my one gripe. I think we got time for maybe a couple more thoughts. What, you got one in there we haven't touched on yet? No more questions, derogatory rebuttals, no more.
I think we've covered all of mine.
So post-credit scenes, we got to talk about that.
Okay. 2
of them, as tends to be the case. And Jessica already is annoyed by post-credit scenes, but when she has no clue whatsoever what's going on.
And then you throw in Harry Styles, what? How did we even get here? I was so confused. I even leaned over and was like, Kyle, is that Harry Styles?
I was waiting. I literally was sitting back. I was like, she's going to ask me who is that Harry Styles.
I couldn't even pay attention to what he was saying because I was so confused as to why Harry Styles is in an MCU post-credit scene, and now apparently he's going to be in more movies or something, and
that's usually what post-credit scenes do, is they set up more characters, more storylines, and all that good stuff.
I was so confused.
So, post-credit scene, I think obviously most of y'all have seen or know what it is by now. Star Fox, who is his code name basically, but his name is Eros, the brother of Thanos. And how all this... Remember, everything they use from the comics typically isn't exactly the same.
Okay.
So, it's probably going to be a little bit different how they utilize him and all that kind of stuff. But it's cool. Interesting name. I thought of the N64 game as soon as that happened. Obviously, that's not the case here. And then the troll Pip, who was voiced by Patton Oswalt, who's the voice for Remy and things like that. People recognize him from. I knew exactly. Like, he's one of those voices that you know exactly when you hear him. It's like Patton Oswalt. It's like I know that voice right there. So that's where I think they're gonna go with Guardians and all that stuff. Other than seeing a cool new character and actor, I don't really have much to take away from it. The interesting thing though is the second one is the whole Kit Harington thing. That's the actor. Excuse me. Dane Whitman, and being the Black Knight who eventually becomes an Avenger in some cases. And yeah, that Jessica at least had point of reference for the Eternals meeting Star Fox. This one was just kind of like over left field for her. The big question for me was, who was the voice? Because you remember that? He said, are you sure you're ready for that, Mr. Woodman? You know, which is...
I remember that.
It was this off-camera voice.
Yeah.
And everybody has been debating what that is. And I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but apparently it's Mahershala Ali, who's going to be... Mahershala Ali.
Okay.
Great actor.
Okay.
Who's going to be playing Blade, who's a Marvel character, who's a living vampire. He kind of does all these supernatural things. So that's going to be interesting. Jessica, honey.
More things for Jessica to be confused about. I'm just going to go back to watching Full House and...
The fact that this kept Jessica awake the entire time because she was confused says something. So while I will say that there are a lot of things to maybe gripe about or be upset about, not even upset about, just be confused and maybe wish things were differently, it still kept your attention, and I still enjoyed it. And I would
there was
watch
a lot of fighting.
And I would watch it again. Jessica apparently would watch it for the fighting.
No, I would not. But some of y'all like fight scenes. Like, you like action movies.
You didn't even like just the little pew-pews with the fingers and the eyes.
I liked Thena's, you know, when she would come with, like, her, like...
Swords,
like, out of thin air. And she was like... Phew.
I loved the animation for Makari running around, zipping around.
Oh, man.
Kind of
she reminded me so much of... What's his name? Dash?
Dash,
in The Incredibles.
Yes. The Incredibles would draw Disney into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's most of our general thoughts. There's anything else that you wanted to say or derogatory rebuttals before we leave about the Eternals?
I think that's probably about it.
I think that's all I have for today. So now we want to share this right before we go. Favorite major character for you?
Circe.
She
was such a freaking bad A. I just
especially
loved her. She was like the one redeeming character. Truly, like, overall. I really loved Circe.
Makari is my favorite main character. And, you know, she wasn't, like, the most involved main character, but she's still one of the main Eternals. So I really liked her character. I liked the actor behind it, Lauren Ridloff, and she's my favorite one out of that. Probably Gilgamesh is a close second.
Gilgamesh was definitely... Well, and Fastus.
Fastus was good, too.
Fastus.
I really liked him at the end, though. I think his humor and what he brought to the thing was really good.
Yep.
All right. Favorite minor character?
You get to go first this time.
I mean, we're going to have the same one.
Yeah.
It's Karun.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
There's
minor
not
characters.
very many minor characters, but he was hilarious, so.
Usually, if you're a minor character that can make us laugh, that's going to be the one that you get picked on.
And especially if you act like Happy from Spider-Man, you're going to win cool points for me.
So now we want to hear from you in the comment section below. What did you think about Eternals? Let us know your spoiler-filled thoughts down there below. Things that we talked about, things that we didn't mention. Again, this is not supposed to cover every aspect or even give you a full, like, this is what happened. We just want to discuss it, but now we want to hear from you. Before they head out, though, what should they do?
If you haven't already, like I said before, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our content.
And that's all we have for you in this edition of i2i Reviews. Be sure to check out our home channel for some more content that's got all kinds of Disney-related stuff. Until we assemble again,
May the Force be with you.
and we'll see you real soon.
Bye.